I am in the closet, so hopefully things will go well as far as streaming. I am going to talk about the medication that I was prescribed. I still haven't fixed my hair. For essential tremor, and it is also used for anxiety, panic attacks, and specifically performance anxiety, which I have social anxiety and just this year generalized anxiety, just all the time anxious, and but usually about an upcoming social situation, and performance anxiety, such as going to a house to dog train. And so I was at the point of getting frustrated with my arms jerking and my hands shaking, and I'm trying to do tasks that, I mean, it's annoying and it's bothersome. This light's on too high. When it's something like I'm trying to pour something or like that, that's just annoying. But when I'm doing something because I feel inspired to do it and I want to do a really good job because I might sell it or because I just want it to look nice, that's when the tremor and the arms jerking, that's when it really bothers me. And sometimes I get frustrated and just don't do it and go pout somewhere. Anyway, so this medication works about 50% of the time. And that there were like, it's called Propanolol. It's also called Inderol. And it has like a huge amount of side effects, but I thought I'll give it a try. And hopefully I won't have those side effects. Well, in the side effects, well, part of it is it's a blood pressure medication, so your blood vessels are become dilated, and you have a low pulse and a lightheadedness when you stand up. And anyway, just because of blood pressure, heart being so low, you just don't feel like doing anything, is how I heard some people describe it. And anyway, so I took it for about a week, and it messed with my sleep. I had insomnia sometimes, or I had very active sleep, like just constant dreaming, and didn't feel like I got very good quality of sleep. That was bothersome. It completely sucked me out of not energy per se. I mean, it was more of motivation, that got rid of. It just, I was not, I don't know, it was weird. I, I had things I wanted to do, but I just didn't feel like doing anything. I just couldn't get out of my chair, kind of. And it's just real sort of, I don't know, like I'd had a lobotomy or something. And then I noticed that it had, when I would really try to do something, it I had no creativity. I had no sparks of, oh, let's see how this looks with this, and um, no innovation and no new ideas. And um, it was, that is what really, really was like, forget it. I mean, the anxiety was gone. I wasn't anxious, but no creativity and no motivation to create, and no ideas coming to your head. I just felt like I might as well have had a lobotomy. And bottom line is, it did not help with the tremor. In fact, I felt like it got worse. Um, in particular, the arm jerking. See, some muscles do more of a jerk, and like my right arm does more of a jerk, and my left hand is more of the shake, like tremor. But anyway, when you're trying to make a straight line in your hand, your arm, it's not really your hands, your goes jerking this way, that can get me really mad. But I said, okay, well, I have bipolar disorder. I could be in a mood episode. Maybe it's not this medicine. So I trialed, after having taken it for a week, I just stopped taking it, and I just immediately got my motivation back, and my creativity and my passion back. um, but the anxiety came back too. So, as with many um, medications, especially psychiatric medications, but the whole host of um, side effects, you have to um, weigh, your life is your own. And I think that quality of life is super duper, super important. I think it's to be alive. Um, and if you do not have quality of life, there is no life. You're just there. And so you might have, I and effectiveness, and if it outweighs, and what exactly symptom does it, what side effect does it cause. So um for doctors and say family members and stuff, push you to take certain medications um, that are prescribed to you. That is why it's reason why it's very, very important that you're to a medication. But, you might be prescribed a medication that the side effects make life just not worthwhile. You're a psych doctor. But I know from the past that in my opinion, it's not working for if the side effects are affecting your quality, like you have a certain measure of quality of life. So um, if um, if you hit to a certain low of quality of life, well, I always tell people to be sure to discuss side effects that are bothersome with your psych doctor, because you don't know what new meds or what meds you haven't tried yet. Um, and sometimes you, and what it takes away. And now, if seeing voices, but it makes you feel for it that if they tell you to, I'm waiting for my notice to um, go in the way of if it's like the kind of voices say they're telling you to do stuff, but the medication makes you sedated and you've talked to your doctor and there's nothing else, I would lean towards taking care of the voices. But if they are voices that are just like there and they're benign, and a medication makes you miserable that controls it, it's up to you to decide which, way to weigh which is going to make your quality of life better. Not having voices that are just there, or and taking the medication and being a little sedated, or just dealing with that symptom, just accepting that symptom and not have the sedation is what I'm trying to get at. And I know from experience that we can sometimes be pressured by family and friends and really anybody and the doctor to take medication that, and if it's a medication that makes you miserable because of the side effects, that's between you and your doctor about which side effects you're going to cope with in a different way. Which symptoms you're going to cope with in a different way and not take a medication that's making you miserable. But but you do it with your psychiatrist's input. So, like I was saying, this medication was actually for a tremor in my hands, but it had been discussed for me to take it just like a dose before having to be in a speaking situation, or talking in front of a group, or even one-on-one with a new person. You take a dose for performance anxiety, but I was actually taking it for a tremor, so I took it twice a day. And it didn't help with that, but it did help with the anxiety, but it didn't help with the tremor. I think the tremor got worse, but yeah, they say that's part of why you feel so flat and unmotivated. And my heart rate was very low. It's normal now, but I just felt like a slug, and I didn't have a single good idea. I didn't have any ideas. I didn't have any. I really do thrive on inspiration, feeling inspiration, creativity, and um, innovation. Um, Looking at an object and seeing it as something else and evolving it into that, um, it was like gone. So um, I'm opting for the return of the anxiety. Um, and I don't, the other, there were other options. Um, there was another medication, but it was a benzodiazepine, and I'm already on Xanax, so that really wasn't an option. And I know that if the tremor gets really bad, they do something with ultrasound in the brain. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll just wait till it gets to a certain um, level of how bad it is, because, like, I mean, I can still write, and I can still write, and my hand jerks away sometimes when I'm pouring a glass of orange juice, things like when you're actually using your hands. Um, and it also, because of it, dropped my blood pressure when I would stand up. You'd have to stand up carefully, but I had a problem that when I tilted my head forward a little bit, I would get dizzy, and I almost took a header down the basement stairs. So um, I was very uncomfortable on the stairs. I did not feel safe at all. And our house is old, and there you have to go up and down stairs to get anywhere here in this house. So that was a little scary. That happened every time I just went to look down at my shoe or something. I it ugh. So I think that as a um, to take it just before performance anxiety, before you do something like stage fright or that kind of thing, I think it would have worked for me. But as something having to take um, daily, twice a day, and it not even help the thing it was prescribed for, but it did. I did notice a very distinct difference between anxiety, though. So I am opting to get my creativity. It's already back. I'm already doing new kinds of wands, new ideas. Um, and that's coming back, or has come back, still coming back. But the anxiety, like at the exact same time, the anxiety came back too. So I've been dealing with this type of anxiety since I was a child. So I I'll just live with it. I don't like it. Uh it does. I I weighed the quality of life. Um it felt like back when in the early 2000s I had ECT, and it felt like that a little bit. Not right after, but a little bit after. Excuse me, I'm taking my meds. And I also thought it was a bad thing that it messed with my sleep. I had a feeling that that could like boomerang back at me and mess with my moods. But then I'm kind of wondering how, if this medication is making me feel flat, how, but it's affecting my sleep. How would a mania look in that state? So, I don't know. I didn't wait to find out. I'll stick with what I know. So, um, so there's I know that some people, they go to the doctor and they take whatever the doctor gives them and prescription wise and take the medication and it doesn't work, so they just quit, and which can get you in a lot of trouble, just abruptly quitting something. Excuse me, but they don't go back and say, hey, this didn't work, especially with like if you just have depression. There are so many medications for depression out there that are different. They could be in the same class and do different things too. Like Prozac and Zoloft are a lot alike, but Prozac didn't make it. People still use Zoloft. They don't use Prozac so much anymore. I think it fell out of it, lost its popularity when they started having people who were committing suicide and blaming it on Prozac. That whole thing was, I don't like Prozac just because of it made I tried it when I was not diagnosed yet as bipolar, just depression. So even though I had mania, I didn't know it was I was feeling anything abnormal, and it wasn't out there enough for people to, they just thought sometimes I acted crazy. So like, ooh, she's not acting like herself. But I tried it and it just made me feel very jittery and I had really bad heartburn. And that Zoloft at a very tiny dose helped me. And I didn't get the same problem. So my point is if something's not working for you, don't just stop at that. And obviously I've been through this topic before too, is that you can't rely on a medication to solve all your problems. It took it, I would say it wasn't, in my experience, the emphasis on a psychiatrist that sees you for 15 minutes and prescribes medication, along with a therapist, especially if it's cognitive behavioral therapy. I would say, what was that, like the mid 2000s late, like, I don't know, 2005 or something. 2010 is when psychiatrists were like, are you seeing your therapist? Are you seeing your therapist? Before that, you just went to the psychiatrist and you stayed longer than 15 minutes. And, but they didn't know, but that wasn't their expertise. So anyway, what I'm saying is you can't just take a medicine and it's going to cure everything. You have to do your part. And I talk a lot about that, but right now I'm talking just about side effects, medication. It's up to you to weigh, well, it does help with this one thing. So this little side effect I can deal with. But if your life is made miserable by a medication, then you need to talk to your doctor because there may be a different one to try. I've been on pretty much everything in my course. I also be careful of psychiatrists. I've had psychiatrists that there are two things that every time you have a symptom, they throw another pill at you instead of finessing what you're already on. One time I was not well. I was in a depression, a bipolar depression, for a full year straight. And I could not make decisions for myself. I never really had someone take control of my money and healthcare, but I did end up moving to home, and but I couldn't make any decisions. And I had this doctor that decided to, every time, and I find this mainly with the male psychiatrists, no offense any psychiatrists, but they tend to just add and add more medication. Just every time if I came in crying, they'd automatically give me a script for an antidepressant. And I find that female psychiatrists, you can go in and express some emotions and talk about something, and that's all it is. And that feels good that you got to talk about that thing that was, that you're not feeling well that day. They don't want to fix every little symptom. They're out to treat the whole, and the communication style's better. Men tend to be fix-its. They want to fix it, and they want to fix it for you fast. And that means a pill. And any time I've had a female psychiatrist, instead of doing that, they just nodded when I would just, talk. And I think that they took more time to actually look at me and observe, instead of hearing me say I had a bad day. Observe me and realize that this is not part of bipolar. This is me saying I had a hard time. So I think there is a big difference, and I just think it's the female male brain difference. Um, I also, during that depression, saw a psychiatrist that got angry at me for not getting better. Um, that sucked. He got angry at me and I'm like thinking, why are you getting angry at me? It's your job to make this depression go away, and it's not going away. So it's on you, not me. I can't help that I'm in this state of mind. I'm sick. I have an illness you should be treating. Instead, he just got angry at me for not for the depression to not go away. Um, so my I see a nurse practitioner now, and I had to weigh out. I would have preferred, my psychiatrist decided to do inpatient and changed. And if I would have stayed with them, I could see a male psychiatrist or a female nurse practitioner. And so I had to do a little bit of weighing, and I decided to go with the nurse practitioner because of my bad experiences with every male psychiatrist I have seen. And I have seen, let's see, we'll start when I was 15. I saw a female psychiatrist, and then in my 20s, a male, and then another male, a couple more females, and another female, um, two more females. I saw one just because I needed a refill for my meds. I've been through over 10, and I'd say 5 were psychiatrists where I went to them the first time and knew right then there was absolutely no way I was going back. So in this instance, I've had 3 psychiatrists that were excellent. And one is the nurse practitioner I see now. It's just the communication style's better. They listen to your input more. They're not as quick to whip out the prescription pad. They're more likely to tell you like it is. And not, I think that the male psychiatrists that I have seen have looked at me and maybe seen other patients as infantile and not capable of participating in their treatment. And the females really pushed you doing your part. Um, I had one that just like, I was upset because the opportunity to work at the animal shelter was there, and I wanted the job. Um, and I didn't want to, I said I didn't want to be the um, disabled volunteer anymore. I wanted to be what I would have said, like a real person, and seen as something more than that. And I was like in her office crying because that's what I wanted. And she's like flat out, I mean, they only have like 15 minutes. So she says, well, you're not going to get anything unless you ask for it. You know, basically, she was saying, why are you sitting here crying about it? Go get it. You know, you haven't even approached them. So, and so I put my resume together and got it. And I wouldn't have done that without her saying those words. Um, without her having that attitude of nothing's going to come your way if you're just sitting there waiting for it. And so now I see a nurse practitioner. She's pretty knowledgeable. She's a lot like the others, good female psychiatrists that I've seen. She really allows my input quite a bit, since I have been already in so many situations on so many different medications that I know what I'm not absolutely gonna do, what I will not take, and I know exactly when, I have things in place. My mom knows about my disorder. She knows when it's time to get help, and I take care of, like, I do everything I can in my part. So she is very receptive when I have an idea or something. Have you ever cupped your hand? um, so, and like I said, the male psychiatrists tended to be very different, very different. They really didn't encourage my participation. They really felt that a prescription would fix something. And let's see. So now, and so now with my experiences, I'm also the same way with medical doctors. I only go to female medical doctors for the same reason. The communication style is different. You're treated a little differently. It's the same thing, just different area of expertise. And what was kind of weird is At one time, I had a psychiatrist, my regular doctor, my therapist, and my dentist. They all had um, the same hairdo, and it was like they all looked like the same person. Um, but anyway, my topic really was not necessarily dealing with side effects, but deciding who decides when a side effect is intolerable, and that's the person taking the medication. Now, I know there's a lot of question about if someone has a very severe mental illness, uh, choosing not to take any medication for whatever reason. I know that it can be tough in some situations when the person believes the medication is poison or something and will harm them. Some people don't go to doctors, don't, religious beliefs. Um, but I think a lot of us are quite aware of our illness and condition, disorder, um, that we're well enough to talk to our doctor and say, um, this just isn't working out for me. Is there anything else we can try? The side effects making me kind of miserable. Um, please do, please do ask. Don't just think you're trapped in a medication that's making you miserable, or just stop taking it. Um, there is the question of people with severe psychiatric disorders, and like, should they be forced to take medication if they don't want to take medication? Yeah, antidepressants, I take a pediatric dose, but I don't take it if I'm feeling speedy. That is an understanding I have with my doctor, because it did help me a little bit with um, the irritability problems I had. But anything beyond this tiny baby dose, it does that to me too. Is It makes my thoughts race, just, and I can't fall asleep. But I mean, there is such a thing as someone court ordering you to take your medication. I think that would really suck, and wonder I just wonder what that would be like. Um, I've, I would say twice. Earlier in my earlier days, not completely well days, where I thought maybe I really don't have this disorder. Maybe I just had a bad time and somebody labeled me and put me on this medication and then stopped taking it. This is back before I was able to take lithium and Seroquel. So we would have been talking like Lamictal, Trileptal, Depakote. So I would say twice I did that, thinking once it was, I don't think I have this disorder. I think I just had a bad time and they wanted to put me on meds, and I didn't, and flushed my meds. Well, lo and behold, I did end up getting messed up and going back on meds. Another time, I think this must have been the first time where I said, um, let's see if I really do have this disorder. Let's see what happens. Let's see if the symptoms come back. So, but I do know that people with bipolar disorder, when they're in a bad state and maybe they don't know they're in a bad state, all kinds of things can happen with their medication. They can think it's bad for them or poison, or they just know they feel better, feel really good, too good, but really good without it. So, yes, it is a struggle for people with bipolar disorder. And there are some people who don't get the depressive part. And so, and I think that would be the most difficult way to live. Because if you just deal with ups, normal, up, normal, up, there's no depression in there behind it, then what incentive do you have to stay on your medication? I think, for one, I think that if I did not have I always have a depression after a high. Sometimes it's just a few days. Sometimes it's a couple weeks. Sometimes it's really bad. Um, so I avoid the highs because I don't want to deal with the lows that come after. The mixed is dangerous, and I am grateful for the lows because they keep me from um, just experimenting with my meds because I like being high. Um, I mean, yeah, that would be awesome. Be like, I've never done cocaine or anything, but you know, it would be harder to regulate. See, and then you have interactions between medications you take. I take whole load of medication, and I take it all at I take a lithium at 2, to kind of get me in the home stretch because I start to feel kind of weird in the evening. So I take, either my meds are for my bipolar disorder or they're for the side effects of the bipolar disorder. So it's like Seroquel, lithium, and then I get heartburn from them, so I take something for heartburn and gastric reflux. My estrogens from my hysterectomy, um, and the little Zoloft pill, and it was on the Propanolol, like I said, but I'm not taking that again. I'll I I will I prefer to deal with the anxiety that I deal with almost all day, every day, just of different degrees. And using my Xanax before a major event, um, or if I feel so anxious, which I did today. It was early in the day, which was unusual. I was like about to come out of my skin with anxiety and just sort of an itchiness inside. Um, I don't get uh, many side effects from other things. So this was, I wanted my creativity and my motivation and my innovation. So yeah, and I think it made the tremor worse. Would you ever consider trying medical cannabis? I don't think it would interact with anyone. Yes, actually, I am watching out for. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can use it yet here. Um, I don't think I wouldn't smoke it, just because I'm concerned about the health of my lungs. Um, but I definitely would ingest it in alternative ways. I would try it. I in growing up, the few times I did actually smoke marijuana, um, it didn't go over very well. I it made me feel paralyzed, like I couldn't move. And then one time I had this thought, if the house were on fire right now, I wouldn't be able to get up and run out of the house. And one time I ate these like Hostess crunchy peanut butter bars. They ate like the whole box, and I was in so much pain, my stomach. Oh, it was awful. But I hear that the medicinal marijuana is different, that you don't get those kinds of problems, the paranoia and um, panic attack. And um, I'm not I'm not one that has ever enjoyed drugs. Um, I've sampled a few growing up, and I don't like a sense of not being in control of my body and the decisions I make. But I hear that the medicinal grade is a completely different experience. So as soon as it is available in my state to do, I definitely will give it a try. Um, and so I forgot when I last looked it up. It was for Missouri. I think they just had something where they decriminalized it or something like that. But I have played in my mind the conversation I would have with my psychiatrist, my nurse practitioner. How do you how, do you just like walk in and say, I'm looking to get off of this Xanax. Can I give cannabis a try? Because you need a prescription for it, right? You have to have a prescription, and you can only have so much, and you carry a card or something like that. Yeah, I don't think it would interact with any of my meds either. I don't know if I were. Oh, they send you to a cannabis doctor. Huh. Well, I'm gonna look into that. Um, I would worry about. I haven't had this in a really long time, people. Um, but it has happened where I have been in a. I sometimes I don't even know. Oh, cool. I can't get this thing to go down. so I can't read all of your comment. Um, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I would wonder what it would do if I were like, I have had states that I guess they're mixed, manic, manic. Uh, they go from manic to mixed. That's usually how it is, and there is heavy. I've had a few instances of very in depth, long lasting delusions. And then I've had periods of hearing voices, hearing full conversations that through the wall that never happened. Crazy. Why can't you just hear conversations that are completely benign, like somebody planning dinner? Why does it have to be crazy, crazy, crazy stuff that you're thinking? Like you're hearing, your brain's manufacturing it, but you're hearing it. I was hearing it through a wall, and because I thought someone was talking, and I put my ear up there, and I heard a conversation that never existed, and it was completely out of this world insane. And I've seen shadows in my periphery go by. There was some time when I was at the animal shelter and I kept seeing like a white cat or rabbit go by. But I have seen people whispering about me, but they were so far away, there's no way I could have heard what they were saying. So I would be worried about cannabis making or creating one of those situations. But as far as anxiety goes, I definitely have intended to try it. Because I hear a lot of good things about it. I hear it's helped a lot of people get off of some medications that are probably more harmful than cannabis. But I mean, if I could get anxiety relief and just overall fear of what might happen with my disorder. I mean, it could even help the tremor. Who knows? Then I would not be, ashamed or anything about it. I take 2 Xanax 0.5 every night when I go to bed to just either if I'm in a depression, I'm ruminating, if I'm speedy, I'm racing. So it just kind of slows the thoughts down so I can sleep and relieves any anxiety I might be having about something, say, the next day, except I tend to start worrying about stuff 3 days before. If I could have a life with, and then like in the daytime, sometimes I do take a Xanax, which is part of my prescription, but coming off of Xanax, if you've been taking it, I don't take a lot, but it's been long term. That can be difficult, and if I could have something that relieved anxiety without affecting my ability to perform, or even just bedtime and not have to take those 2 Xanax, um, then I'm all for it, because I I don't think coming off of cannabis is anything like coming off of Xanax. Uh, if you Yeah, it's a big deal if you've been on one of those types of drugs for an extended period of time. You're going to be very uncomfortable coming off of them. Hey, so I think I'm going to look up and do a little research on cannabis and bipolar disorder. I think that would be a really good topic. Um, there is a comment, Eric, that you made that I cannot read it because I have this pop up that I can't get down, and it's in the way. So I'm sorry if I didn't answer that. I can't figure out how to get this pop up down. Here, wait. I bet if I did this, I could. Oh, okay. New York. You're in New York, huh? Okay. Well, I'm going to end things here. And I'm going to look into that and see where my state or other states are and what they say about cannabis and bipolar disorder, anxiety. Um, it's hard to have just bipolar disorder. It seems like everybody has anxiety as well. So I'm going to look into that to do a video on that. But for now, I'm going to say good night so I can go to bed. All right. Good night.